Happy Monday morning. It's about 9:15. My body actually let me sleep in this morning, for which I'm incredibly grateful. But last night before I went to bed, I was just like thinking about all of the violence of this weekend. The shooting at Brown University, the detaining of a person of interest whose name and image were plastered all over the place. Then the Daily Mail found some guy in Wisconsin who was close in age, had the same name, and they identified that guy, and that guy wasn't even the person of interest. So those two guys are having a bad day today. The shooting, the anti-Semitic terrorist attack in Bondi Beach, the heroic civilian who disarmed one of the gunmen, thank God. And then the news about Rob Reiner and his wife last night, murdered by their son. Just, it was weighing on me a lot last night, just the violence of this past weekend. And that's not to mention, the things that have been going on forever in Sudan and Congo and Gaza, and the violence that we've seen on our own streets in this country every single day with ICE officers and Customs and Border Patrol officers, absolutely brutalizing immigrant communities. And it just goes on and on. And there just seems to be almost like a tidal wave of just violence and inhumanity right now. I don't know if it's worse than normal or if we're just seeing more of it because of these devices that we carry around with us all the time now. And fortunately, I was able to sleep for several hours, and that helped quite a bit. And plus, it's like now I get to start most of my mornings sitting out on my deck watching the sun come up over the mountains, listening to the birds chirp, and watching all the different breeds of squirrels and chipmunks run up and down the trees and get in fights and throw nuts at each other. Oh man, I think the next year in this country, on this planet, are going to be worse than the last year. In terms of all kinds of things, but I think specifically in terms of violence. People committing violence against other people. And I just spent a lot of time this weekend thinking about mental health and thinking about my mental health. Being incredibly grateful that I'm up here in the mountains. And then I woke up this morning and saw some headlines. Well, first, Jesus Christ. I woke up this morning and I saw Donald Trump's Truth Social post about the murders of Rob Reiner and his wife by their son. And Donald Trump blamed Rob Reiner and his Trump derangement syndrome for being murdered by their son. Donald Trump is a profoundly disordered, mentally ill individual. There is no bottom for him. There is no bottom. And it's like on top of everything, it's like being reminded first thing this morning, oh yeah, this morbidly obese, dementia-riddled lunatic is actually our president, the president of the United States. So there's that, and then waking up to the news, and I'm really looking forward to learning some more information about this. Police, I think it was in Los Angeles or something, and the FBI arrested 4 people who are connected with some type of, according to the FBI, I don't trust anything the FBI says now, 4 people connected with a radical pro-Palestinian organization that were planning on planting multiple bombs at multiple businesses on New Year's Eve. So we'll learn more, I hope, once these folks get defense counsel assigned to them. Hopefully the defense attorneys will be competent and will be able to dig in. But we'll find out if this is an actual thing, if this is a real thing, or if this is in any way another, manifestation of the FBI's decades-old practice of essentially entrapping people into terrorist plots who otherwise would not have engaged in that kind of behavior, but for some type of inducement from a confidential informant or things along those lines. But, if this is what the FBI is representing, and there are, in fact, 4 members of a radical pro-Palestinian organization who were going to engage in terrorism in Los Angeles, because that's what this would have been, violence as a means to a political end. Great timing, guys. Great timing. At a moment when, just last week, one of the senior guys at the FBI said that the number 1 domestic terrorist threat in the United States is Antifa. And Donald Trump has issued multiple executive orders declaring Antifa a domestic terror organization, and an organization that does not exist. And you idiots thought right now would be the proper time to do something like this. Bunch of fucking morons. My God, man. So we'll find out if these people got ensnared in some kind of FBI setup, or if they fashioned themselves, some type of like freedom fighters consumed with their own egos and levels of self-importance, that they thought that this would be the right time to pull some bullshit like this. Wow, man. Wow. And, and it's like, all the rhetoric that we're hearing about, or from this administration, from right-wing media, about the left being the party of violence, and, for something like this to happen, this administration, this FBI, this Department of Justice, this right-wing media structure that we have, all of them are going to capitalize on this plot 1,000%. They're all going to double down on everything. And this administration is going to use this kind of a plot to go even further in taking away our freedoms, our civil liberties, our civil rights in their quest for authoritarianism. And, I hope it turns out to be some kind of a bullshit thing, but I think at the end of the day with this administration, it's not going to matter if it is some kind of a bullshit thing that people got entrapped into. If it is a legit thing and there were some, however you want to describe them, pro-Palestinian activists who thought that this was a good idea, fuck you guys, man. I hope you spend the rest of your lives in prison, because you're not helping that cause either. You are not helping the cause of Palestinian civilians fighting for their lives inside the Gaza Strip by going around and blowing shit up in Los Angeles. It's the dumbest shit that I've heard in a very long time.